Hey guys, today is a day of many DC news, especially concerning James Gunn's DCU. In this series of interviews promoting the Superman film, James Gunn confirmed there's a Hall of Justice in this universe. This seems extremely important and might even hint at the next film he's writing. A new video also came out with spots for the Superman movie, featuring a crucial new scene with Lex Luthor, giving a good clue about the story, possibly inspired by a legendary Superman comic, Superman Birthright. There's another news as they kind of confirmed Bizarro, but hold on, it's not a spoiler. Ultraman isn't Bizarro. It's something else, another Bizarro. So, guys, there's a lot to discuss in today's video. But before we start, don't forget to hit the like button, comment below, and subscribe for more content like this. Follow our other social media on Instagram and Threads, where I'll keep you updated on this universe we love. All right, let's start talking about these updates regarding the Hall of Justice. In my opinion, it's very important because I think it reveals some of James Gunn's secret plans for the future. What did he say in this interview? Quote from him. You see the Hall of Justice, and it's not even finished yet. It belongs to Maxwell Lord, who is also the owner of the Justice Gang. That's basically what he said. I remember well that when they were filming Superman last year, we had a prop in Metropolis that hinted at the Hall of Justice. It was like a blueprint showing it was the Hall of Justice. But until then, well, it was just an Easter egg, right? That changed when James Gunn confirmed they are building the Hall of Justice. And who owns this property? Maxwell Lord, who happens to own the Justice Gang. So far, it's closest to a Justice League we have in this universe. The way James Gunn spoke didn't clarify if this structure will actually appear in the film or if we'll just see it from afar. But hey, maybe the Hall of Justice will show up at some point in the movie. I think not, but hey, never say never. Anyway, now we know this place exists and is being built. It'll show up in another project. This leads me to discuss, because we know James Gunn is developing this film sequel, not exactly a sequel to Superman, that indirectly involves him. He said he isn't writing World's Finest and isn't doing the brave and the bold. Now, we know that this Hall of Justice belongs indirectly to the Justice Gang. If he's writing a movie about them, and if that film is some kind of proto-Justice League leading to creating the actual Justice League, I don't know. He gave such specific info that he didn't need to mention Maxwell Lord as its owner. He could have just said there's a Hall of Justice that might come into play later, but he went straight for it and said Maxwell Lord owns it too. It's like he knows what he's planning with this structure already. Since this Justice Gang was revealed, we are always comparing it, right, with the International Justice League, because the International Justice League, or the Little League from the 80s, is a really fun run, and it definitely fits James Gunn's style. He surely loves this run. And there we have Guy Gardner with a whole different interaction among the heroes. However, this Justice League doesn't stay in the Hall of Justice. It kind of stays at the embassy of the International Justice League. And those guys live there. They have dormitories and everything. If James Gunn wants to do something like that just instead of an embassy, right, a random building that no one cares about, he will do this in the Hall of Justice. I might be going crazy here, but what if the Justice Gang stays in the Hall of Justice and then the Justice League is created and they end up in the satellite? Man, that's my dream, right? Watchtower is my dream. I will always prefer Watchtower over a building on Earth. I'm sorry, my cartoon side speaks louder. It just can't be helped. The moon base could work too. The moon base is pretty cool as well. Now, another important thing that James Gunn hasn't mentioned, and is much more speculation on our part, is that this Hall of Justice actually ends up in Metropolis. I think this because of the set decoration we saw while filming Superman's movie. Why would they put this if the building wasn't going to be in Metropolis, you know? Well, logic says Maxwell Lord would be building this building in Metropolis and would put some ads for this building being constructed around the city. There would be no reason to place these ads in Metropolis if, I don't know, the hall would be in Washington, you know? But still, I know that this idea of James Gunn making a Justice Gang movie is very far from happening. But it's just very much a James Gunn thing to want to make a movie about these characters he started writing. It's very much a James Gunn thing. James Gunn is also the CEO of these studios, right? If he wants to make a Justice Gang movie, I think no one will stop him, you know? It could be a Justice Gang movie with some other character. For example, Superman versus Justice Gang. I'm not saying that James Gunn's project is exclusively about the Justice Gang. I'm just speculating that I think this Justice Gang will indeed be important in this sequel project that James Gunn is talking about that's still secret, but that's just my opinion. What do you all prefer, the Justice League in the Hall of Justice or in the Watchtower? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Another topic is a new spot that came out for Superman's movie. And you know how these spots are. They invariably give new scenes. And this new spot seems to be key to unraveling the entire second act of the film. So what I'm going to say here could be a spoiler. If you're sensitive to spoilers, it's better to skip this part of the video. In this spot, we see Lex Luthor being interviewed on a show, and he's denouncing Superman, saying he came to Earth to destroy it. And man, that's exactly what we've been speculating for a long time. We speculated that Lex Luthor would make some plan or narrative. He'll use media to his advantage. He'll create fake news and tarnish Superman's image, and that's what it really seems like he's going to do here. By the way, this reminds me of the comic Superman Birthright, where Lex Luthor does something very similar to this. He goes to the press and shows evidence that Kryptonians still exist and they're going to invade Earth. And this makes people turn against Superman. I think this comic story is sensational. It has a wonderful ending that's 10 out of 10. This Lex Luthor from the comic is also amazing. So I think this plan, James Gunn's idea of basing it on this story, right, and also on Superman Birthright, is a great idea, truly. But now we need to understand what Lex Luthor is doing on the television program, because he will make this accusation against Superman and he needs evidence. He won't just show up on TV without any proof. It's Lex Luthor. He will be well prepared. In fact, recently there was a Superman media that did this, right? Superman and Lois. In the last season, Lex Luthor goes on television and accuses Superman of assaulting him. And that's pretty much what I think will happen in this movie. Last week, DC released that scene where Superman invades Luthor's office, and he's really mad, right? Because Krypto was kidnapped, and Superman is quite aggressive. He starts destroying things, but the most important thing about this scene that few people mentioned is that Luthor's girlfriend, Eve Teschmacher, is recording it. She will probably put this online. It's a big setup. Superman is falling for Lex Luthor's game. Luthor wants to show that Superman is aggressive, that he loses control, and that he could even kill someone when he loses it. He will definitely use this video to undermine Superman's credibility. There's also another reason, because I think he won't go on that TV show with just one piece of evidence. I believe there's another proof. Yeah, this is something I know because you imagine something will happen and Lex Luthor will use this info on TV. But I'd say James Gunn is inspired by Birthright. It may not be exactly like Birthright, right, where he invents a Kryptonian invasion, but I think the whole idea is the same. So that scene there, which I believe will happen in the second act, for me, solves the puzzle of what will happen in the story. The only piece of this puzzle we still don't have is we don't know exactly who Ultraman is, and we don't know how they will stop that final threat of the black hole appearing in Metropolis. That spoiler they gave about Lex Luthor, I consider a heavy spoiler. You know, I think they shouldn't have said that in this spot. But just like what happened in the Batman, I don't blame them. Movies are to make money, and they are marketing to get people to watch a film, but I think they could have cut that scene. Well, the last thing I want to discuss here with you involves Bizarro. That's right, the villain Bizarro from Superman. Those papers were released on social media that reporters at the Daily Planet keep at their desks there. And the quality of the image shared online is so good that we can read the article. And it clearly states they are talking about Bizarro as we know him. Bizarro from comics. The Bizarro who is Superman's villain. The Bizarro from another world. In the report, they interview civilians, and these same people say in the report that, look, it's like Superman, but he acts a bit differently, as if something were wrong with him. The same report also says that this Bizarro does not live on Earth. He lives in another Earth. And they even give a name for this Earth, which is Htre, spelled backward. And look, why am I citing all this and why is it important? First, because it does establish that this Bizarro has appeared in the DCU universe and exists in the DCU. And second, because I think it makes it impossible for Ultraman to be Bizarro, or at least this version of Bizarro that we know. Because if this Bizarro lives in another place, he wasn't created by Lex Luthor. He wasn't genetically modified to be a creation of Lex Luthor. And that's what we think Ultraman is, a clone of Superman created in a lab by Lex. Since Lex is a scientist, to me, this ends the theory that it's a Bizarro, or at least the Bizarro we know. The theory that it's a Superman clone remains very strong. If they would call it Bizarro in the movie, then that's a different story. Maybe they'll call it Bizarro, but I still think Bizarro is the Superman clone who looks like David Corenswet, or maybe he's a clone of Superman who has a baby face, like in Grant Morrison's comic. It's a crazy theory, but if I'm right, I'll be mad because I should have bet on Bizarro. And I have no information that this has been confirmed. It's just my speculation. It's a guess from someone who reads Grant Morrison's comics, and I imagine James Gunn has read this comic too, you know? But that's it. Bizarro, classic Bizarro, that's done. For sure it's done. I also don't think this newspaper is foreshadowing something that will happen in the movie. I think it's much more about giving context to the universe, you know? But folks, that's it. These are today's news. Comment below what you think about all this, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.